So it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Jim Craig. Jim runs a small business, a micro business.
Micro SME.
Micro SME called Green Gauges. Tell me more about Green Gauges.
Okay, sure. Well, Green Gauges is designed to help and inspire organisations, business leaders specifically, to run businesses in a far more environmentally and socially responsible manner. And that's really where, looking at sort of longer term sustainability and the state of the world that we're in order to allow businesses to operate that way, they have to change the way they work. They have to be far more responsible, far more aware of the impact that they're having. And so really it's about setting this out as an agenda that organisations can embrace and actually get value from. It's quite often seen as it's too expensive, it's too complicated, it requires too many people, and it's clearly not the case. It either saves you money or makes you money, right, in a nutshell.
It's about performance improvement.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. With sort of lots of benefits.
Yes, added value.
Well. Lots of added value, yes, yeah.
So would you say IMA, and being an IMA Baloo practitioner, has really added value to your business?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's kind of the centre. I have this little model that I use, and IMA sits in the middle. So the model is V3. It's all about understanding the values of the people within an organisation, and IMA sits in the middle. It's the bit I call the voice. So it's understanding communication style, and then the third V is around vision. Tends to be a lot of organisations, senior managers sort of launch into creative vision, and then communicate that, or try and communicate that back to an audience that doesn't get that communication style, doesn't understand why the vision is what it is, and hasn't really been involved in it at all. So it kind of misses on lots of levels. So by understanding values, you get an alignment between senior management and everybody in the organisation. Then once you've got that alignment right, we work on the communication style. So you get lots of aha moments with IMA, because you find that people that you didn't really get on with before, you understand why you didn't get on with them, and you can kind of accept them and tolerate them and work with them more than you've ever done before. So in this whole idea of changing the way business works, changing the way business operates, I think in most organisations, communications is kind of fundamentally flawed, and IMA is a fantastic way, a very quick way. That's the other issue. From a sustainability point of view, we're not doing enough quickly enough, and IMA is a really great way of understanding where people are coming from very quickly, and kind of being able to all get in line and pull in the same direction.
I'll try and summarise that. I think I'm not going to do as well as you did in some ways, but I would suggest that innovation with communication equals success.
Yes.
And using IMA, as you've put it, with speed too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Therefore you've got efficiency, economy, relevance.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so getting the team to play the game is important. Understanding who the players are. Being able to communicate really across a matrix.
Yes,
of people, by understanding their personality style.
Yep.
And is that Green Gauges? I like the kind of metaphor, the play on words you've got there. You talk about sustainability, and what was the other word?
Social responsibility.
Social responsibility. Responsibility was the one I was thinking. So you have sustainability and social responsibility. I often think about those two phrases perhaps a bit negatively.
Okay.
I don't see them as being necessarily results words, but the way you described it, they definitely are. So I wonder if you could just amplify that and maybe educate me and the people watching this a little bit more on that. Because sustainability, it sounds a bit ooh-wah.
It does sound a bit tree-huggy and saving polar bears.
Yeah, I mean, I like tree hugging and,
Me too.
and saving polar bears. I'm interested to know more about how, not perhaps tree hugging and saving polar bears, but how sustainability and increased social responsibility helps increase efficiencies within business.
Sure. Well, I have a personal goal that when I meet a client that I don't talk about sustainability. In order to embed sustainability into an organisation, which is kind of the goal, it's very difficult if you're sort of dragging an extra pillar which contains a to-do list of 25 more things for a busy executive to do. So the approach is very much of, let's look at the sort of top 3, top 5 business issues you've got, and they vary from department to department. So let's look at the individual issues, individual department issues, and see if there are some sort of recurring themes across there. And then look at how we can solve those business issues. So rather than give you something new to deal with, let's tackle something you're already dealing with, but let's do it in a different way. And we very much focus on the outcome. And the great thing with in its broader sense, what's called corporate social responsibility, is it touches every aspect of the organisation. So from a HR point of view, you're looking at attracting and retaining the best talent. From a sales point of view, you're providing a differentiator, and a marketing point of view, you're improving the brand, the value of the brand. People will buy from organisations that they feel are doing the right thing. A couple of examples: the Cooperative Group and Joan Lewis Partnership are 2 organisations who are kind of very different from most other commercial organisations, have grown quite dramatically in a double-dip recession, and it's because of the way they operate and the values that they operate in a very responsible way. And what that does is that attracts the right people. And the other point about responsible organisations is that the clients you attract tend to stay with you for a lot longer, and they will buy more in each transaction, and they will transact with you more frequently. So it's far more of a partnership than a one-off trade. And I mean, also from an investment point of view, if you're running your organisation in an environmentally and socially responsible way, you are a proxy for a well-run organisation. So investors will invest in you because you're a good long-term bet. You're going to be around for a long time. Your yields will be higher because you're operating in a very very responsible and very efficient manner. At the end of the day, it's about efficiency, ultimately, and so typically it's a question of the language you use. That's why I don't use sustainability, because it comes with its own negative connotations and sets of baggage.
Promise not to use that one again. I got a new word for you, which I think is something that you might inspire: trust.
Yes, absolutely.
Because obviously, to increase transactional value, to increase transactional frequency, the third element is to increase number of products to sell, all of which is commonly associated with change, especially if you want to maintain and grow figures. You've got to change and innovate with the market. So you've also got to maintain trust.
Sure.
So trust, change, innovation, communication, they're, to me, the 4 things that you're talking about here. Have you got more that you can give me on trust and communication?
Sure.
How does that work?
Sure. I'd kind of counter, it's not necessarily about selling more products. It could be selling fewer but higher value products. So you don't sell as many, but you charge more for them.
Sounds great to me.
Trust is key, is really key around responsibility in responsible organisations. And
I mean, in the financials, we're here in the heart of the city, at the Stationers' Hall.
Yep.
Outside are all the banks in St Paul's, central London, the city. They're an organisation, a group of companies, major companies, the core of everything that we do in this country. Without them, none of the rest of the business would survive. They have got a major trust issue right now.
They have.
Not only that, they've got to transition from being largely merchant banks to being able to separate their retail banking department, division, or services into a separate unit that needs to make its own profits. And for some banks, like Barclays, for instance, not such a big change. They've already got retail operations. For other banks, they're largely merchant banks, but they want to keep a big foot and establish a presence in the retail banking community. Obviously, major opportunities available to them, but they're in a marketplace right now that is weakened by the rogue trading, and we can have a very long list. They are weakened. How do they rebuild trust?
It'll take time. It will take time, and it has to be shown by actions. There's a lot. I see a lot of corporate social responsibility reports that claim one thing, but when you dig a little bit deeper, if you're a bank and you issue a corporate social responsibility report and you say you're doing wonderful things, but you're lending to the arms trade, for example, that's probably not particularly responsible if you're looking at things in the purest sense. So it's very much a case of what you do rather than what you say you do. We judge ourselves on what we think, whereas other people judge us on our actions, and that's very much the case with banks. It's that they can. No amount of PR, especially in the world of social media now, no amount of PR spending will get round Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and whatever else.
Quickly.
Absolutely, and that message will transfer around the globe rapidly. So it's very much a case of setting the stall out early on in terms of what it is they're going to do, and follow through. And if there is if something does go wrong, admit it and be transparent. Say, we recognise this went wrong.
Yeah.
This is what we did to fix it, and this is what we're doing to make sure it won't happen again.
The public can be forgiving. There are times, obviously, where heads roll. We've seen that in recent weeks. It doesn't appear that that's going to happen everywhere. There's some complaint about that. But that's not really the issue, is it? The issue is back to communication and then doing what you say you're going to do. So being seen to do what you do.
Yes.
So it's about taking deliberate action to fix a problem and deliberate action to launch into a marketplace and to address the needs. In other words, to understand, to communicate. As James, who created IMA, says, those who communicate, those who connect succeed, and those who don't fail. So for a really, really big organisation, sounds like some of the organisations you've worked for, how, we haven't got all day, but what advice would you give them in a couple of seconds?
It has to be led from the top. I've not seen a programme that hasn't had leadership from the top succeed. So it really does need somebody from the top. Okay. Being authentic and leading from the front, and bringing everybody in. So making it's very much a collaborative. We won't solve this problem individually. It's very much a collaborative effort within and without the organisation as well. So it's looking outside, where can you use partners and other people to come in and help.
Yeah.
But it's very much led from the top, very inclusive and collaborative, and not only obviously celebrate the successes, but also share the failures as well, because that's how you learn. And it's actually rewarding people for having a go and not getting the result they expected. But if you don't share that, then somebody else will make it again and again and again. So
learning from your mistakes.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it seemed to me that the banks are starting to take the right route. We hear reports from Barclays in particular, just a few days ago, of recruiting someone to the board who is taking a look at how to act more responsibly as a corporation. We're seeing other financial institutions looking at these subjects. So we're starting to see that these organisations might be taking this seriously and are working with this problem from a top-down perspective. So day one almost, where you're getting a big, shall we dare say, green tick, nice start, and let's see them continue.
Yeah.
Your experience on that?
It can be, the danger with that sort of thing is that it is, you've got the business and you've got the right things to happen department. And ideally, if over time, ideally that person needs to work themselves out of a job role because it needs to be embedded into the organisation. It shouldn't be a separate department. It should be woven into every single department.
The core of the
core
business.
of the business, yeah.
Right. Well, on that note, I'd like to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
A pleasure speaking with you.
Cheers, thank
I
you.
look forward to future conversations and for you to achieve every success.